Good afternoon. My name is Gustavo, and the reason for this video is to introduce my MBA graduation project. The university is the Latin American University of Science and Technology, located in Costa Rica. And the topic of this research is the maritime decarbonization strategy and the financial fixed income instruments market trends. Regarding to what is the purpose of this project, this research explores the sustainability of the bond finance and finds how it can help in the question of how the maritime industry investment system can fulfill the legal requirements and international agreements to achieve lowering in carbon goals and at the same time analyze profitability and investment vehicles on the green bonds investment strategies. Regarding to what is the research methodology, well, the methodology focus on research from academic papers. The questionnaire and interviews apply to professionals in the market, and the knowledge and notes the author has been studying and developing from many years. As an introduction, I think that it's important, first of all, it is important to understand that the worldwide maritime industry constantly requires huge capital for its investment due to the fact of increasing trade and aging fleets. This growth in demand goes hand in hand with a small number of banks willing to support the industry and a general tightening of credit facilities. Consequently, companies have been forced to access the capital markets for equity and debt. Additionally, the climate change matter and its current legal system set new challenges in the way the shipping lines manage their companies and investments, which need to work aligned with the capital markets portfolio and strategies. The maritime market is one of the biggest markets in the world, and 90% of the total trade all over the world is performed by the shipping industry because it is cheaper than other methods of transporting cargo, making the marine industry the heart of the transactions, exports, imports, and diplomacy between the countries and companies that link many different parts of the world. As the imperative movement to face the climate problem increases, the maritime industry faces an urgency to reduce its carbon footprint. As a consequence, financing marine decarbonization initiatives has become a critical aspect of this transition. By directing capital towards sustainable projects, the industry can significantly reduce the carbon emission and contribute to the global climate goals. Simultaneously, investors can support the transition to a low carbon marine sector while generating financial returns, aligning their portfolios with environmental and social responsibility projects. Um, Additionally, given the concern relating to shipping pollution levels, in 2019, a group of 11 banks joined the Poseidon Principles following a series of discussions across several countries. The principles are a set of voluntary guidelines that establish a framework for assessing and disclosing the climate alignment of ship finance portfolios. The basic rationale of the principle is that they allow financial institutions to disclose the extent to which and whether their lending portfolios are in line with adopted climate goals. At this point, it is important to talk about some finance terms. First of all, for ordinary investors, one of the most trustworthy and preferable investment vehicle are the bonds. This is a fixed income agreement or loan from an investor to a borrower, such as government or companies, to fulfill their projects and achieve their goals. This type of securities have been changing a little bit in order to satisfy the climate change strategic agenda, particularly in the maritime market where the industry has its own climate target. Green bonds are one of the standard terms in the financial markets nowadays. These are bonds specifically focused on sustainability. Some of the finance, some of the examples in financing the maritime transition, which is absolutely important for this topic. I think that one of the main example of the shipping market turning to the green finance is the Maersk Shipping Line. One of the most prominent companies in the industry issued a 10-year, 500 million euro green bond under the umbrella of Maersk's green finance framework and a final order book at 3.7 billion. The transaction was priced at a coupon of 0.75%, the lowest annual interest ever for Maersk. Another example is the company Syspan Corp, the world's largest container ship lessor by cargo carrying capacity, which sold nearly 1 billion of so-called green bonds at the beginning of 2021. That sold 10 new investors by promising to fund vessels that will lower emissions and pollution at sea. CISPA company, which has an operating fleet of 132 vessels, initially tapped asset managers for 500 millions of bonds in July 2022 to pay for the ships to reduce carbon emissions, the company's first U.S. green bond. The sale attracted more investors than anticipated, allowing the company to increase its junk-rated offering to a total of 750 million in 8-year notes with an annual yield of 5.5% in theory, attracting more investors, including those seeking environmentally friendly assets. Regarding to what is the questionnaire and the results of this research, follow we have a couple of answers to the questionnaire applied in the document, in the research document. One of the most interesting question applied by a LinkedIn platform, well, actually, is if the implementation of this Poseidon principles have been an effective way for the maritime industry to achieve the climate footprint goals in the market. The questionnaire applied concluded that 60% of the people that answered by a LinkedIn platform believe that the Poseidon principles have been an effective way for the maritime industry to achieve their goals in a climate target. Nonetheless, one of the interesting facts is that 20% of the people that answered the question via the LinkedIn platform believe that there are better ways to force the market to become zero emission. I think that the most interesting part of this research was the discussion with Mr. Adrian Chavarria. He is in charge of the logistic department of Procurement Government Agency. He's a very knowledgeable person for this type of topics. And one of the main questions uh, to this gentleman, this professional in the market, was if he think that bond market is the best way to achieve the goals of decarbonizing the industry for the year 2050. And in the words of Mr. Chavarria, he answered that the financial industry goes hand in hand to what is the accomplishment of the rules in the maritime market. The more banks accept and apply the rules, the more possibilities the world has to manage the climate footprint. And this is something absolutely important because we need to remember that the maritime activities are responsible for 3% of the CO2 emission. Uh, Mr. Chavarria also said that this way, we really want to make a change in the world in order to bring a better future to our next generation. Um, we will have to take all the responsibilities and behave in a way that makes a real change in our planet and our future generations. Um, Very interesting conversation with Mr. Chavarria. And going to the final topic of this video and the research, um, I would like to go directly to the conclusions and recommendations. The first conclusion is that the bond market is an opportunity with a lot of potential for financing maritime decarbonization and driving sustainable investment in the industry through the issuance of green bonds and the implementation of transparent certification and standards. The maritime industry can attract investors seeking to support the transition to a more sustainable future. By increasing collaboration, investors investor demand, and long-term commitment, the bond market can play a fundamental role in accelerating the industry decarbonization game, benefiting the environment, the stakeholders, and the financial investors. Secondly, the financial bond markets in financing maritime decarbonization can drive market development and innovation. As more investors anticipate in green bond offering, the market for sustainable maritime investment will grow, attracting new players and fostering competition. These circumstances will lead to future innovation in clean technologies and sustainable practices within the maritime sector, which is actually the most important thing in this market. And finally, the bond market presents a significant opportunity to unlock capital for sustainable maritime projects by issuing green bonds. Companies and organizations in the maritime sector can attract investors who are specifically interested in funding decarbonization strategy. This flow of capital can be directed towards research and development of clean technologies, retrofitting existing vessels, and investing in sustainable infrastructure, ultimately accelerating the industry transition to a low carbon future and creating a better environment to the world.